item number 2, Greenlight process. Number 1,
Okay.
Brad?
That's me. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. As you know, we've been discussing for a while that one component of the Greenlight plan, the complete Greenlight plan, needs to be an accountability plan, or we've been talking about an accountability plan. And on your work program, which is actually going to be talked about in more detail, that the ACPT has been working through, it is referred to as a Greenlight or an accountability plan. As we've been discussing this and reviewing what that accountability plan is all about, we are recommending that it be changed to a Greenlight delivery plan, And I'll just quickly touch upon why we think that. The action item for you today is to receive this as our draft, these draft concepts. You can approve these concepts, these recommendations of the components of a delivery plan, and then that way we'll develop them or flesh them out with more text to describe them as part of the overall Greenlight Pinellas plan. But again, we're working through this Greenlight process, which has been very, very successful and healthy to keep us focused on what are we promising, what are we proposing with this Greenlight plan. Again, I copied these right out of the Greenlight proposal that you all approved. We want to develop a viable, credible plan. We clearly need to demonstrate accountability for that plan, transparency, inclusiveness, and one public conversation. So the accountability is just one piece of it. It's not the whole piece of it. It's all those things. It's transparency. It's one public conversation. This is all about, as you all tell me, this is about trust and understanding and acceptance. There's a lot of things, as we all know, that we don't completely control, that are beyond our direct control as either implementers, staff, or you as policymakers as we move on this 25, 30-year plan. There's much that we don't control. And so this accountability, this delivery plan doesn't have all the answers or lockdown answers that we can avoid every possible pitfall that might come our way. Of course, we don't even know what we don't know in large sense, but we want to try to address at least the major components, major issues that have affected others in this delivery plan. It's more than just a citizen committee. That's what I'm trying to say. It is a citizen oversight committee, or having an ability to review, an ongoing process to review and make sure we're staying on target. But it has to address outside influences. It has to to look transparent, and I think it must tie to the community, to the either not just the business community, but also the civic, like we're doing with the Greenlight committees, but also the individual cities and communities within Pinellas County. As we move forward, how can we be accountable to the greater community? What I'm recommending today as part of, and when you will be considering approval of a delivery plan as part of the Greenlight plan, you're not necessarily approving specific language that will appear in the 2014 ballot. I think we still need to have some discussions about that as sort of separate. There is, as I think most of you know, there is many ballot questions have included language talking about their accountability, or the committee, citizens committee, or some elements to sort of demonstrate accountability. I wanted to say that up front, that that's not what I'm necessarily asking you to approve today or even in a month as part of the overall Greenlight plan. It's more this concept that we would do these irregardless of whether they're in the ballot language or not. That these are important for the process of implementing this plan. I highlighted the staff of PSTA and others have done a remarkable job of looking out at dozens of other cities and ballot initiatives and getting lessons learned and actually following up with them about pitfalls or accountability issues that have arisen in other communities for us to learn from. These are three that I'm going to highlight that are clearly potential pitfalls for our initiative that we need to address in our delivery plan. The example I would show of cost overruns was in Charlotte. I was there. I worked for the Charlotte Transit System while they developed their plan after they approved their tax and then brought it online. During that process, from the time that they had a ballot initiative in 1998 till they opened up their first light rail in 2007 and doubled the size of the bus system, they struggled with cost control. During that time, the economy was doing quite well and material costs dramatically spiked, especially concrete and steel, right during that period of time where they were out to bid for their major construction projects. They also, and this is the reason I put that picture in, there was substantial, what I would describe, project creep by the community during that time. There is a bike trail now that goes down the entire 9-mile line in Charlotte, right next to the tracks. That was not really conceived in 1998 when they put this to the ballot, but that became part of the project. That lovely, ornate, iron black fence, which you can kind of see, that was an add-on. There was many different things that changed the project scope that they struggled with. So how are we addressing that, or how can we expect to do better? Number one, we completed an alternative analysis. Charlotte didn't complete their alternative analysis until 2003, 5 years after the sales tax was passed. When they went to the ballot in '98, they did not have any of the plans that we have already completed. They had no financial plan. They also, therefore, they didn't have any contingency. They didn't know what their number was going to be to start, let alone have a contingency like we do. We have the capital cost for the locally preferred alternative has, in total, more than a 20% contingency in it. Somewhat because of Charlotte, the Federal Transit Administration now requires a project risk assessment, where they bring in auditors to analyze your budget and your cost and your plan, and where you are most at risk of going over budget. And since Charlotte has been implemented in Tucson and in some extensions in New York and others, projects have not come in over budget since they have put this risk assessment in place. And Hampton Roads came in under budget as well. Once you have better understanding of where you are at risk of going over budget, by doing a detailed risk assessment, you can better manage those costs. Again, we are now starting to do a financial study. We've hired a consultant through our general services, our planning consultant, to refine the current cost estimates. Again, the locally preferred alternative cost estimate of $1.6 billion for the construction of the rail was in constant 2011 dollars. It had a large contingency in there, but obviously as we implement this plan over the next 10, 20 years, the costs are going to change. Go up, maybe some technology expenses might go down, maybe real estate, we might get some real estate given to us, we might have to pay a lot more, hopefully, that property values will go up in Pinellas County. to have a better sense, again, it'll be a consultant, it'll be a plan, it won't be the cost, again, but to have a year of expenditure cost, a layout of these expenses over time, will give us even more information than we have today. And then last, we are looking at the public-private partnership opportunities. This is a method of spreading the risk, paying more upfront to a private consortium or a private company, but in exchange, you avoid the escalation, and you can mitigate or spread the risk of cost overruns.
Who did you hire to do the financial study?
Well, PSTA has just hired two planning consultants, and I believe it is Ernst & Young, who has a sort of capital financial planning group within the big Ernst & Young, is our consultant that's helping us with this.
I know we talked about that in a previous meeting, so I was just curious.
Yeah. But I told this to the PSTA committee last week. Just to be clear, what Ernst & Young is going to do for us, and they could do more, or they would love to do more, I'm sure, is to develop these refinements to the existing work that has already been done by Jacobs as part of the alternative analysis, and then by our bus consultant for the bus costing. Not to audit or give a fresh look to their assumptions, but sort of take their assumptions and develop it on a year-by-year basis. If we want them or someone else to also kind of come in as a third party and audit the financial plan, that would be a little bit of a different scope. Another issue which we don't really have total control over, although we have some control over, is what if the federal government doesn't approve our project, or doesn't give us the necessary rating, or something falls apart that we are not able to get a federal participation. This happened in Miami. In Miami, the citizens voted for a sales tax in 2002, and they are only able to build 2.4 miles of the 89 miles promised of premium transit in Miami. And they've pretty much accepted this. That they are not, I think they still have some hopes of future plans, but they're actually developing a whole new plan. The 89 miles that they promised is nixed, and they're starting on a new plan that will have some of the old elements in it, but it really was a major issue. As many of you might know, there's been a number of elected officials that have been turned out of office, that this and other issues about trust. But this was a substantial over-promising. They proposed lines on the map to all parts of Miami before checking with the federal government, before talking to the FTA, before doing an alternative analysis. Charlotte didn't do an alternative analysis either, but they had a very strong corridor, and they basically got lucky. We are in a different position. We have completed this alternative analysis and reviewed it every step of the way with FTA. Now, FTA is not going to promise anything. FTA staff reports in some way to Congress, which you can't trust, they don't trust either, but there has been coordination along the way. One of the problems they had in Miami, one of the reasons their project was not approved for federal assistance was that their financial plan, the sales tax, has largely been diverted or was diverted for other projects, either other transportation projects or other county infrastructure projects. And so the feds, they specifically rejected Miami's financial plan, that they couldn't trust that the money would be there for transit to match the federal funds for transit, and that had not been shown. That's obviously different than our funding structure and our setup with PSTA and the system we're setting up with the county. And again, probably the biggest sense that we have a different plan is that our financial plan that's in the alternative analysis potentially has as much as $400 million in cushion in case the feds or the state programs change from their current matching and method of funding. We're proposing 50% local funding and a total of 50% non-local funding. Virtually every project in the country has been funded by 50% federal, 25% local, and 25% state. So we have approximately $400 million of give to that number. Last but not least is a comment that I've heard out in Pinellas County at community groups I've talked to. You're going to have to cut the bus system or reduce the bus system to pay for the rail. This happened in Los Angeles, quite famously, or at least in the transit world, quite famously. In 1994, citizen groups complained, or filed a complaint that ultimately went to the U.S. Supreme Court and was upheld that yes, LA did cut bus service to low-income neighborhoods to pay for suburban, higher income rail. And they have been living under a consent decree ever since, that they have to get their plans approved, go through special approval process to ensure. And they were forced by the courts to add bus service. And federal judges mandated the cost of their senior citizen bus passes. It's a little bit different out there in LA. We're doing things a little bit differently, as you know, here at PSTA. That's why we did the bus study. That's why we are doing the bus study. We're talking about substantial increases to the bus system here, not decreases, not taking funds away from the bus system to pay for the rail. And because of Los Angeles, FTA has whole new circular and rules and regulations and audits to check to make sure that your city is not doing that. That you have to, every step of the way, prove to the feds that you're not taking any money away from the bus, from the other modes, or from other neighborhoods to support your project. You cannot go forward anymore like that. That was 20 years ago. So it really has not been a problem, or it's a problem that has been corrected. Again, staff has reviewed those 3 examples plus a number of others to not only identify what other cities have done, what are best practices, but then they've followed up with those cities, especially the ones that have initiated something 5, 6 years later and say, well, how's it going? Did that actually, what you thought, what you recommended, did that actually work? Has that been a benefit to your community? Out of those, that research, we are recommending three components to our oversight and delivery plan. Number 1, maintaining a detailed website. A detailed website tracking progress on all of our projects and initiatives. Number 2, having probably more than 1 oversight councils. I'm going to recommend at least 2 that I think we should have. And then 3, which is so important, that this outreach that we're doing with Greenlight and talking to groups never can stop. It never can stop. We need to constantly be reaching out to the community and showing that there is value to what they're investing in. This sort of just gives you sort of a flavor for all of the places, all of the communities that we reached out to and talk about what they have done. Of course, we're learning from the Penny for Pinellas and Pasco, and then transit initiatives. Maricopa County is in Arizona. It's where Tucson, they're now building their streetcar in Tucson, Arizona. Again, making sure that we maintain a detailed website, having a project tracker where you can easily get information about the status of any particular project, any route or portion of the plan. Some of the communities had something called an early action plan. They actually developed a 3-year, I think in the case of Denver, this is what's going to happen right at first. And had that as a sort of standalone. Of course, videos, social media, ways that you can provide input through the website. Citizen oversight councils. I mean, there's any sorts of designs to how we might create oversight councils or groups that would review our plans. And so I think in large part you all have more experience than we do on this. This is what having looked at all of those different cities is a framework that I would recommend, but this obviously is subject to change. We would create a citizen council, probably emerging perhaps in some way out of the Greenlight Council that we're developing now. That would be inclusive, or when I say it would come out of the Greenlight Council, that theme that it has representatives from different groups, civic, business, government. It would be a council of folks like that would be a standing committee that would look at our capital investments. They would be focused on our capital infrastructure investments and how those were planned and funded. At the same time, we would create a totally new group, or essentially a reconstituted riders board of users of the system. The first council there that would look at capital would not be users. They would be stakeholders, again, representing business, civic, government. Then we would have a new group that would actually you would have to be a rider of some sort of transit service. Both groups would have very specific responsibilities to approve annually the capital for the one group and the operating for the other budgets. Not only to PSTA, but also having reporting, some kind of reporting structure to the county commission, and to the MPO. Again, this would be these would be standing groups that would be initiated.
We have one quick question.
Yeah.
So back to the counties and cities that you look at, these boards make recommendations on the budgets, or is it just an advisory? Is it still in an advisory capacity, or do they actually have authority on those budgets?
They would be advisory. I mean, we can set it up however we want, but they would be advisory to certainly the PSTA board, who would be approving of the annual capital and operating budgets, fare increases, things like that. They would be advisory to that. But I think there is an importance, I don't exactly know how to do this exactly, but to have it be independent. It's not just a subcommittee of PSTA, or that it would have some kind of dotted line or reporting or update advisory role to the MPO and to the county as well.
So each of these jurisdictions that you looked at on the previous slide have some kind of citizen oversight? That last row?
We couldn't find one for Penny for Pinellas. That's the bottom line there. Penny for Pinellas doesn't really have one of these. But all the other ones do.
Individual cities and county budget processes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That seemed like it was very, very consistent.
Okay.
We have a question from Karen Seals and then from Julie.
Well, the school board has an oversight committee.
Yeah.
For their millage. That was approved by referendum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the half a millage for teacher.
For teachers' pay
comp
and for
school books and stuff. Yeah.
Arts and science.
science.
Yeah.
Just how many people are you foreseeing on these councils?
I think probably about 9 or 10.
Okay. And my suggestion would be that to have one council be a financial oversight, so that they would look at the capital investment plus the operating budget. I personally think that would be a better place to have someone do the financial oversight, and then maybe you have the writers board look at the operating policies and something else. I just think if business, civic, 9 or 10 financial oversight board would have the capabilities and the knowledge of better making that financial oversight?
I think that is a good comment. I was thinking about that myself, especially early on in the plan design, that citizen group will be talking about the operation, the financing of the operation, and how we implement our early action plan of new services. So you're right. It won't be logical for it to be just a pure capital.
I would just hate to see it separated into two different committees, one looking at capital, one looking at operational budget.
Right.
In the end, they all, the CIP ties into the budget, and you've got two different groups looking.
Yeah, and it is really important. I mean, PSTA has had a riders advisory group for a long time called our TAC, but it's been our only committee, and it's not been very effective. They don't report to the PSTA board, and they don't have, they're not all riders. And so it's been difficult to sort of have them make recommendations when a lot of them don't even know what's important to riders. It's important to have both groups represented.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oops.
And that was kind of what I was going to bring up, was the TAC. When I saw that, I thought, is that your politically correct way of fixing TAC?
I think the timing is right. John, who's tax committee, said that the current chair has resigned or is retired from being on it, so it's in need of new direction.
I know, I mean, at PSTA, we've said that not the people on the group, but maybe the goals of the group could be so much stronger and better. And I probably should tend to side with what Commissioner Seals said. I think they both have a lot to do with each other. And maybe you started off that way, and if you find that, as we found with the Finance Committee at PSTA, we found that what we were doing was so much that we had to break it out into bigger chunks and let two committees do it. But maybe you start off with them doing the whole thing.
So what are your two committees now?
We just have one rider. We have
Yeah.
one committee.
We have the
Citizens.
Planning Committee, which is capital.
Board.
Yes, they're board committees. They're not citizen-driven committees, but this happened to us as board committees. We have the Planning Committee, which is, we review capital projects, long-term, where is the organization going, that kind of stuff, and budget-related things, but really bigger policy-type issues and big things. And then you have finance and management, which is, and I think I messed up the name of that, but and they get into the more nitty-gritty of contracts and performance of all different kinds of things. So it didn't start out that way, though. It was all wrapped into one, and it just became too much for one group. So, but maybe you start out as one, as you said, and find the natural separation.
Brad, if I could just follow up on one of the distinctions that we did determine from all these different committees, and it may be intuitive to you, but ultimately they're not advising you as to how to run the property. Their goal is on behalf of the public to make sure that the money is being spent appropriately as to the plan. They have authority to request audits, they have authority to request review of contracts, so they're just there as an ombudsman, if you will, to make sure that there's accountability to the public, that what was said would be done is actually being done. And so they're not designed to get into boards' day-to-day operation. They're not designed, they can be, but the intent was never for them to be a competing operating board. And I think that's a distinction that just needs to be clear in terms of the purposes from other properties. Now, we can set it up however we please. That's just an understanding that we wanted to make clear.
Which is right, because they're gonna, the public is going to ask well, if I vote for this, how am I gonna know that you're doing what you said you were gonna do? In Largo's case, if we voted for our new library, well, guess what? We built it, and you knew that's
It
what
was
you
there.
voted for, where this is a little different, and it's an ongoing thing. It's, so I think it's a good idea.
But the devils are in the details, obviously, how this gets worked out. I mean, Miami had well, they're not on there, but Miami had a committee, and it didn't seem to work too well in Miami.
I don't
Right.
think the Miami comparisons, generally.
Yeah.
Very different down there.
Oh, they have pretty nice buses when they're in Miami, or you can get those places. Okay. And then the last one was the ongoing outreach. Most of these communities have had very necessary and helpful outreach that has helped them along the way. This was a poll done in Denver recently. New poll, 85% say fast routes was a good decision. That they are, Denver and other communities, Utah and others are constantly tracking, doing polls, doing outreach efforts to their communities, and tying the plan back to how it is beneficial or how it's helping, and that we would continue to incorporate continual outreach into our plans. So again, these are the sort of concepts recommended as part of the what we're calling a delivery plan that we would, with your approval today, would bring these back in a summary written document that would be a component ultimately then that you would approve as part of the Greenlight plan.
Okay. Go to your last slide,
That's
so
it.
that they can look at the.
Okay, yes.
three
Okay, right,
presentations.
right.
There you go. Do we have any questions about any of these? We've talked along the way. Jim?
Just good presentation, Brad, and the risk assessment and what went wrong other places and why it's not going to go wrong here. Or, I mean,
Where we hope.
yeah, how do you? That's a great, sales mechanism. I'm not sure how you get that across, but I think that's important, especially the risk assessment portion.
Yeah.
Not an exact science.
But we have learned from other people, so that's the plus.
That's right.
Well, what is your wish, ladies and gentlemen? It's looking for direction. These are what they're recommending. Do we add to that? Do we like it? Do we want a motion to move, give them the permission to move forward?
I
So
think-
Mr. Grant,
Second. I do have a question.
go right ahead.
And I-
Now we're in the discussion.
I agree, it's a great presentation, and you have answered a lot of the questions that the opponents are putting forward. I guess I'd like to have a better sense of what is the largest risk that you see that we don't have a good answer for. I mean, we're putting in place a fiscal, we've got the AA, we're going through, we've got so much in contingency, you've answered a lot of those questions, but what's the unknown out there? Is it the federal funding piece, the state funding piece? What's the biggest challenge for us? I think we need to answer that question.
What's the thing that makes you lose sleep at night, Brad? It's gotta be something.
It's November 2014. That's why
Right, not bad.
it's at night.
Sorry, you said it's
Those
China
locals,
now.
Just want, in terms of uncovered bases, is there anything out there that we need to be looking at more closely?
Do any of you gurus think of anything?
My next much briefer presentation on the Greenlight committee update and the outreach. I think what has come out of those committees is that there is a desire by many, many people, or well, everyone who's coming to the Greenlight committees, to learn more and to have more understanding of what is in our plan and the details behind our plan. At the same time, there is this constant questioning or not 100% trust in government, or even if they have no problem with me or trust that we've done 3,000 pages of analysis, that doesn't get them home, right? That does not, they really don't digest that. And they need more than just the facts to totally accept and advocate this plan. So I think just that's been the sort of struggle. We want to probably get input and be transparent. At the same time, people are asking us tons of questions and wanting us to tell them stuff. At the same time, they want really us to hear from them about their thoughts. I guess that's been the most recent struggle. I think we're doing a great job with all the different avenues for input through the Greenlight process, but
No, I think you're doing a great job too, and I'm optimistic. I just want to make sure, a couple of things that I'm hearing, and maybe you'll, in your next presentation, we keep hearing from folks that don't want their single-family residential community changed, that we're going to put density in their backyard. And folks understand that we're actually targeting density in a smart way, so it won't be in their backyards. I'm not sure we're connecting with that. And the second thing is, as always, are we showing countywide benefit in a way folks can easily digest?
yeah.
So that's what keeps me up at night, honestly.
Okay. Just to add on to what Commissioner Welch was saying, the community benefit, I think, is important. But what Mr. Kennedy, Councilmember Kennedy said too, how you showed what failed in other places and how we're different. I think we all have known some of that, but the way you concisely put it together today, I think when you're out doing your presentations, I don't want to use up all your good solid time talking about why it won't fail, but I have to say that by addressing at least a more condensed version of that section of your presentation to the public, what you're doing is answering their questions before they even get a chance to ask you, and that brings confidence. That makes people think you've been thinking, you are doing your homework, you're not trying to give me a sales job, you understand what hasn't worked, and you're trying to address those things to make it better for Pinellas County. And I think that you might want to include some condensed version of that in your presentation going forward.
Okay, if we have any further discussion, we have a motion on the floor to approve their recommendations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. We're moving on. Mr. Miller again. These are only 3 pages.
Yeah. Just quickly, you know that we have stood up 2 other committees besides your committee, a Greenlight Business and a Greenlight Civic Committee. In total, nearly 100 people, 100 different people have attended the 4 meetings, 2 each of those committees to date. We have promised both committees that they would be limited to 3 meetings, and that this fits, and described how this fits into a process where these committees, these large committees, condense down to a Greenlight Council that will start meeting in September, and then that comes and presents this public input to the County Commission. The membership, many of which were recommended by you all, is I think a healthy cross-section of the community. Again, the business committee are businessmen, and some women, probably not enough women. And then the civic committee is all different types of groups, neighborhood association presidents, organizations, school people, Sierra Club, etc. Like I described, the meetings have been at least 2 hours long each, and there has been tons of questions. At one of the meetings, the business committee asked 69 or 79 questions, and we took a long time to answer every single one of their questions. And there is this sort of fine line that we are learning, and we get negative feedback that we have crossed the line or something, between giving them giving them the information that they ask for, answering the 69 questions and giving them a 20-page document of answers, and giving them time to speak, giving them time to weigh in on whatever position that they have. So how this is moving forward. There's going to be one final meeting in August of both groups, and that's going to lead to a council. That this is the tentative list of folks that we are pulling together. Not all of these folks have said yes yet. So, but it's a council of 9, and again, it's so important to emphasize again what the purpose of the council is. It is to represent this Greenlight public outreach process. That we have gotten input from civic, business, and government leaders, and that we have gone through this Greenlight outreach process and stand up before the county commission when the county commission votes on the ballot language and officially put this on the ballot in December. That's what everybody understands is the purpose. That this is not a authoritative council or has no authority. They're not going to be meeting and providing changes to the plan necessarily. Again, they're coming in from their 3 different groups. There's no county commissioner from the ACPT on here because the county commission is the audience to hear this. And so we are recommending the chair of the ACPT, Harriet Crozier, and Julie be the ACPT members. PSTA chair, T. Barta chair, and then 3 civic and 2 business leaders. Those are conveners. Those 5 people there are the conveners of the civic and business committee already. That's my summary.
I do have a question on this one. In August, when are the 2 final meetings in August? Does anybody know what those dates are?
We are still trying to finalize that. I believe they're going to be on August 22nd, but
On the same day, like 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, is
Yeah.
that what you're looking for? Okay. Yeah.
But we're still working with the conveners to formulate exactly the agenda for those meetings. And so one issue, we've been holding the first 4 at the Canals Village organization, and there was a comment that when we break up into smaller groups and have a discussion, which we have had with both groups, it's not a big enough location. So we might change the location.
Karen?
Maybe I understand it better now, but I thought the Greenlight Council, I didn't realize that it's represent to the BCC, because I did see that I thought having a lack of the MPO chair, which is me, and county commissioner, I thought I was originally supposed to be on this. So even up through a conversation with Tony Collins the other day. So, I mean, if this is really the purpose, is just to present the plan, and then that ends the participation of the Greenlight Council, I'm fine with that. But
That is its sole purpose, is to go to the county, to the Board of County Commissioners. When I was mentioning in my previous presentation about a future oversight council, obviously the membership, the names would change, and probably even the organizations would change. The concept of the future, which I think is embedded within this concept, is that it's not just government or just business or just civic, it's all three. And we would try to maintain that.
Mr. Welsh, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Johnson.
How many folks have not confirmed on that list?
Well, 1, 2, and
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen the list.
Okay.
Well, congratulations then.
I'm happy.
Just those two?
Yeah.
Just those two?
pretty much, yeah.
And you, on our
That's
schedule,
it.
you've got September, October for Greenlight Council public review period. How's that gonna work? What's the,
Don't have it totally, all the details worked out, but
Okay.
the council, that group of 9 would have 1 or 2 meetings in September and October.
public meetings?
Yeah.
Get feedback. And your plan is, this is presented to the commission in December. Ballot language, is that after that, or
No,
Does it come-
that's
the
the ballot
presentation
language.
is with the ballot language?
Yes.
Okay. Last question. And so after, hopefully, the commission schedules the referendum, what happens with Greenlight after that? What's their role in 2014? Or is it done with its work and another entity comes in?
Well, we've been discussing that. I don't think I have an answer for you to that. We've discussed whether we do kind of transition to an oversight or whether they are maintained. I think what is probably going to happen, just separate from this, but the Greenlight Business Committee or members from that Greenlight Business Committee are even starting to meet separately and discuss a private campaign. So I think that will be a group that moves forward into 2014. Probably no reason for this council, these 9 people, to keep meeting.
Well, who carries on the education component? You compile all this information on what the transportation plan is. Who carries that on in 2014? Greenlight is not.
We're still trying to figure that out. Well, whether or not the ACPT continues to meet and be that oversight, or whether we do need to have some sort of larger group monitoring our outreach. We have created a lot of very positive energy with these Greenlight committees, and we don't want to lose that.
I just want to be clear on the handouts.
Yeah.
And when Greenlight came to us to present their original plan, what were they going to do in 2014? Was their job done? We're done? That's it? I don't remember them ending it.
Tucker Hall, you mean?
Tucker Hall,
Tucker
yes, didn't they have, and then you go and do this. Okay, so there's this question mark, and I just thought Tucker Hall took us all the
The
way
plan
here.
all along had been, the Tucker Hall recommended that the Greenlight process that I just described, we're right on schedule with what they recommended. Summertime, these committees, moving to a council in the fall with a county commission approval or consideration of ballot language and the vote at the end of this calendar year, and 2014 be the time when the private campaign would take over and run with the advocacy for the initiative. But it is still important to have some level of outreach, probably not as absolutely intense as it is right now, but an ongoing level of outreach in 2014 and then even beyond, as I just described, that we would want to keep moving forward.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. And kind of a rhetorical question of, is there enough North County makeup on this 9-member committee? Because North County is someplace where we really need to make sure we do our education and such. I look at the two business people, they're both St. Pete. I mean, usually, I'm not complaining about having too much St. Pete representation.
I'm thrilled that you
But-
brought this up before we did.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, just an observation.
And, okay, so that's one. This committee is just looking over the final plan and preparing what they need to say to the county regarding the plan, or how they're gonna present the plan. That's all they're doing. Ms. Julie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you, I understand that this group is presenting to the county. And I asked this question, so I'm not sure of the answer. Would there be a benefit to having a county commissioner on that group?
We can't present ourselves.
No.
As advisors or?
No.
Why?
I don't know.
We have to make a decision separate from them. I can't think it looks bad.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm just asking. That's all.
You were gonna say no? Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions? Do you need a yes or a no?
I don't think I do.
Okay, good. We
You
will.
can't stop me.
Don't make that a challenge down there.
I know.